Welcome to StartupHakk, where we love training software developers. We take people with zero experience and help train them to be ready to start as a full-stack software developer in as little as 3 months. So I was reading a great article the other day that was talking about when you should use a microservice and when not to. Microservice architecture is an innovative approach to designing software applications. It involves breaking down monolithic applications into smaller independent services that can communicate with each other. This decentralized structure allows greater flexibility and scalability in managing complex systems. So this video is targeted for those who are making design decisions, especially on starting a new app. So microservices architecture in a software design is an approach of breaking down the complex application into multiple smaller and loosely coupled services, which can operate independently and communicate clearly via APIs. Each service focuses on specific functions or feature, making individual components easier to design and deploy and expand. This architecture encourages flexibility, agility, and the capacity to more effectively evolve and maintain software, particularly in big and frequently changing applications. So a great example of this is like a user service. You might take a user service and break it down into one microservice, and all that service does is manage your users. So we're going to talk today about the benefits of using microservice architectures, when to use them, and when not to, along with challenges and best practices of microservices architecture as well. So some of the benefits of using microservice architectures are scalability. It's easy to scale individual services based on traffic or usage without impacting others. Another is agility. Faster development and updates and deployments. Whatever tested can be deployed. So you can take this one microservice and deploy it independent of the rest of your app. And that way it doesn't require more time and downtime of the whole application. Flexibility. Smaller teams can choose diverse tech stacks for their services. For instance, one of the microservices could be written in Node, while some of the others could be written in .NET. Microservices allow independent teams to be able to write on the technology that makes the most sense for that service. Fault isolation is another reason to use microservices. Isolating failures to service level, which could easily be found using separate logs or identifiers. Another reason to use microservices is team autonomy. It empowers smaller teams, so you can break your teams down into smaller pieces because they're solving smaller independent projects. High availability. Enhanced fault tolerance, we just need to fix and redeploy the culprit service. So if one of your services are causing a problem, the rest of the system can act independently, and you can quickly fix that one and deploy it and get it back up so that it's not affecting the whole system. Another reason is incremental updates. You can release features independently, and we need not keep the ready features waiting because the other two features are not finished for a monolithic bundle. So in the past, where you'd have one whole monolith, you would have to wait for everything to be ready to deploy this one thing, whereas instead, if it's just the user service that needs an update, you can go and fix that, deploy it quickly, and move very quickly. Another reason is hybrid cloud and multi-cloud environments. You can deploy your services in hybrid cloud and multi-cloud environments. So now let's talk about when to use microservices. Microservice architectures are very well suited for some of the following applications. 1. Very complex applications. Microservice architecture may help manage the complexity of large, complex applications with various features and capabilities by splitting the applications down into smaller, more manageable services. You can single service for single functionality like login, registration is one, managing a dashboard is another service, and so on. Like SRP for functions, microservices for functionality. Number 2, varying scalability needs. If you anticipate varying workloads and need to scale particular services of your application independently, microservices enable you to scale or descale only that service that demands more or less resources, respectively, rather than the complete application. So with a monolith, you may have to scale up or down hardware, even though there's only one little piece that is doing a lot of the work. This will allow you to scale just that microservice instead, that one independent piece, instead of having to scale the entire stack. The third reason to use microservices, frequent updates needed. So microservices are great for applications which require regular upgrades, new launches, or bug fixes, since they facilitate rapid deployment and development cycles. So for instance, if you know there's one particular piece of your code that's going to need to be updated very frequently, it's good to wrap that into a microservice so you can be deploying just that one little piece very frequently instead of the entire application. Fourth good time to use a microservice architecture is high availability. By separating failures to individual services, microservices can improve fault tolerance and offer high availability by lowering the danger of a single point of failure affecting the entire application. Fifth good reason for using microservices, a team with diverse technology stacks. I talked a little bit about this before. When you have tech teams that have different tech stacks and resilient in their migrating their tech preferences, choosing this could be a good option. You can distribute them into multiple teams and use their tech to the best part of your application and club the services for producing even better solutions. So when should you not use a microservice architecture? So first of all, in software development and design, nothing is always fixed and for sure. So you don't always want to say everything has to fit a microservice architecture. We have to refrain from using it for the following type of scenarios. 1. When it's a simple application. When the application is simple, we should avoid the network and configuration overhead of microservice architecture. Monolithic applications would be a way better option if you just have a small, simple application you need to deploy. 2. If you have limited resources, the complexity offered, good choice. It's really a great choice when you get into multiple teams so that specific teams can own certain parts of the microservice architecture. The third time that it's not a good idea to use microservice architecture is data-intensive applications. If your application is highly based on complex database transactions, you should avoid using microservice architecture because it makes it hard to maintain data consistency. I'm not saying maintaining data consistency will be impossible, but that will need extra effort and resources. We should always try to follow the cost-effective way. So finally, the decision to employ microservices may be based on a thorough examination of your project's unique requirements, goals, and restrictions. When deciding whether microservices are the correct architectural approach, consider aspects such as team skills, project size, scalability needs, and the nature of the program. So I've been working with microservice architectures for more than 10 years now. I've found using microservice architectures come with the following caveats. Increased complexity, resource overhead, tool monitoring, documentation and communications, cost management, learning curve, versioning, service coordination, and data management. So I hope this has been helpful. Here at StartupHakk, we love training software developers. We take people with zero experience and help train them to be ready to start as a full-stack software developer in as little as 3 months. So make sure to check out the link down below or go to startuphakk.com and you can get started today.